Shall we start?
Oh, please, I can wait.
It's the first time you smiled in a long time.
It's been a year.
What's there not to smile? Today is one of the best days for the sport.
That's true.
And for Napoli. And for the Inter Milan haters.
Uh-huh.
Me number one.
Yeah, we know that. There's a lot to celebrate. We've
Yes.
got Ludovico, who's back. We've got Peter,
thank
who's
you
back.
so much.
Ludo, congrats to Napoli on their fourth Scudetto.
Ludo. Thank
you
Peter,
so much.
congrats on having your first kid, your
Thank
baby.
you.
Oh, congratulations, not to
Victoria.
him, but congratulations to Annalisa. Annalisa, she's the one that gave birth, not him.
Victoria.
Victoria.
True.
To Vittoria.
Thank you, thank
Dove la vittoria?
May she grow up to be a Napoli fan.
Yes, yes.
Does she have a team yet?
Yes.
We have a shirt for her, but
All right.
Let's see.
Is the family divided at all?
She's
I
an.
mean,
She's
there's
his
no
mom.
there's
His
no
mom
info.
is a
my
Napoli
mom. My
fan.
mom was happy yesterday. So.
Was she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
His mom is a
She
Napoli
sent me
fan.
the message. She's a Napoli fan.
Oh,
Your
really?
mother, yes.
Of course.
Yes, that's my kind of lady.
She's from Procida, Monte di Procida.
I know,
Yeah, so
I
she's
know.
a Napoli
How the
fan.
hell you turn out to be an Inter fan? You should be ashamed of yourself.
Takes after his father's side.
Oh,
His
come
grandfather
on.
was a Inter fan. The whole family was an Inter fan.
So then you're not too upset then, right?
No.
It's an easy pill to swallow.
Yes.
Since you have family that's also in
Also,
Napoli.
we have Champions League to hopefully look forward.
That's
to.
going to be so hard to
This next
swallow.
That's true.
It's going to get stuck right here sideways.
You know, his whole family was an Inter fan from his father's side, so he's adopted. He's an adopted Inter fan.
That is not going to be a pill, by the way. It's going to be something that goes, instead of from here, goes from the other side. It's going to be a suppository. Una supposta, the way
is
they
that?
say in
Supposta.
Napoli.
What is that?
Una supposta is something that...
But what is going to be that?
Oh, it
when-
means probably
for the
next
champions,
Saturday.
the final
Champions
of the
League, Saturday.
champions.
Got it.
That's not going to be a pill. It's going to be something that is going to go from the
we'll
bottom
get to
up.
it.
From
We'll-
the bottom up, not from the top down.
You have a lot of fantasy on
Oh
there.
yeah, I love that.
We'll get to Inter. We'll get to the Champions League, but we have to rightfully so start with who finished at the top of the table. Napoli. Very few people believed that Napoli could go on and win the Scudetto, fourth in the history. What an incredible story that it took them 33 years to win the third, and now you've got two Scudetti in the last 3 years. How do you feel, Ludo? Because the first time that you won that last Scudetto and we had you on, it was a very emotional time. Are you still just as emotional, or now are you getting used to it a little bit?
It's a different emotion. I have to say that all the Scudettos that Napoli have won, they all have given me, and I could speak for the entire Napoli family, Napoli fan base around the world, they all have different emotions, different meanings. The first one with Maradona, it was history. That the city didn't know how to react to something like that. Such a huge event, no internet, no social media. The city just went wild spontaneously. Then you have the second Maradona Scudetto, and then you had to wait 33 years. So that's basically a couple of generations that you had to wait. So that's a different feeling. And now you win the fourth one in 2 years, and now you don't know how to
process
it
all
was
of this,
like
yeah.
the last one. It was like a few weeks ago. You found $100 on the floor, and you didn't know whether to give it back or to keep it, or to give it back. Undecided whether you have it or you don't have it. So that was the Scudetto.
So what did you find on Sunday?
We kept
on
it.
Friday.
No, we kept it, and it was everything just fell into place. And
Is it just as emotional? Is this one just as
it
emotional
is.
for you?
It is
as
just
the rest?
emotional, but this one was a little bit more. This one I would put with Maradona, with the first one.
Really?
Basically, that at that time you only had 2 points for the victory, one for the tie, and of course, no points if you lose. So Napoli, I believe, won with 43 points back then. So you didn't know, and you had
Those 2
great
points,
teams
right.
back then. Serie A was top back then. So now, with this point and the Inter winning 2-0 against Parma, and then they tie 2-2, they lose against Lazio. I mean, against Roma, they tie against Lazio with Pedro. Now they made the statue of Pedro. He's going to be on the nativity set.
My dad's
So
in
this-
Naples now, and I told him to bring
gotta
back.
bring it.
He's going to bring
Everything.
back the Saint Pedro, and he's also going to bring back a McTominay. This
Yeah.
McFratm.
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 McFratm is my brother. McFratm.
So it was a roller coaster ride of a season, but we were ahead for 20 or 22 weeks, and I started believing it after we tied, like I said before, against Inter 1-1 at home. That's when I said, this we can do, because now if Inter goes further into Champions League and you have Bayern Munich and then Barcelona, Inter can lose points, and we just have to take advantage.
Did you think you were going to get to see another two in your lifetime? When you won, you witnessed the first two. Did you think that you'd see it again? It happened again? Because I spoke to a lot of Napoli fans, the older generation. They said, I got to witness two, but we had the best player of all time. We had the greatest. Are my kids going to be able to do it? Are they ever going to get to this point? Did you think it would happen?
I think it would. I think the first two Scudettos, they belong to Maradona. These two, they belong to the Laurentis, I have to say. Let's not forget where Napoli was in 2004. We started from Serie C. The club went bankrupt, and so we started with Serie C. And I remember De Laurentiis once saying he had no players. He didn't even have soccer balls, and he called Galliani at Milan and said, "You got to send me a player." And I believe Milan sent Abate back in the day. He did him a favor, and he said he had no players. And then he started programming, and he started getting the right people in the right places, and then we started going to Champions League, Europa League, year after year after year, learned from his mistakes, and then I said, well, this actually can happen again. Yes, I did believe that we were going to win the Scudetto once De Laurentiis became president. We got to qualify for Europa League, Champions League year after year, playing at certain levels. And then, of course, the lack of experience, losing with 91 points, the Scudetto versus Juventus, and a couple of opportunities. Because remember, Napoli is not a city, it's not a piazza that can win. It's not used to winning. Even though now it's
Marco,
changing.
look at the way you sat them. You sat the winner on the left and the loser on the right.
And then the other two losers next to each
I'm
other.
not a loser. Speak for yourself. I am pretty.
You're right. You can't lose any European competitions next year. That's good.
Matter. We can't lose anything.
What was your reaction to Napoli winning?
Oh, it was amazing. Not only I'm very happy because for me, anytime that Inter gets anything, it's bad.
Okay, but beyond that.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Because
For
you
the South.
keep
It's
saying
beautiful
for
the
the
South.
that-
It's beautiful for the people that they work for living. Not they live to go to work. They just works very hard to just make ends meet. Those people don't need to meet to go to the stadium. They sacrifice to just go after the team, and they cheer up for
but
the
it's
team.
it's a
struggle.
philosophy.
It's a struggle.
It's
for
a
the people
city.
coming down from the South. We are used, including my son and that kid over there that is sitting on the couch over there, Testarossa. They used to get the Starbucks and this and that, and the breakfast this and the burger that. In Italy, you're not getting all of this luxury. In Italy, you're lucky you get a soup with you cook cookie, you dump the cookies inside, and that's your
Who puts
breakfast.
cookies in their
People, they
soup?
listen to me. Listen to me. In Naples, the people are 100%. They wear their emotion and their heart.
The
on
team
sleeve.
is part of the fabric of the
It's a
city.
family.
It's one fabric.
It's one fabric. That's right.
It's a cultural event.
Everything is united. Everything is just right into the same pot. It's the melting pot of Naples. It's the people of Naples.
Pete, obviously, we know who you wanted to win, but you also have this part of you that is probably happy for Napoli. What's your takeaway from Napoli winning the Scudetto?
Listen, you saw it in the the fans and the city, how it looked when McTominay scored, right? So they didn't even get through the game. That was the excitement and what it meant.
Smoke all over the place.
That's what it meant for the city. And I think as Antonio, Ludo have mentioned, the South is always looked at in an inferior way. Like it's not.
It's not easy to win. In the South,
they don't
It's not
have a
easy.
lot of chances, just like you said, the history maybe, because that was even something that we talked about. It's like, the Napoli players, even now, do they have that ability to pull through and win something? I think obviously we've said Maradona. I know you said De Laurentiis, and rightfully so, because I remember going to Italy and in 2004 in the summer, you would see Calcio, Pia, all these guys coming up. Oliver Renard, who actually was the second goalkeeper for Napoli. He ended up becoming a sporting director here from Montreal. I had the chance to meet him. But they came from the Serie A and having to build back up, build a foundation again. And all the credit goes to De Laurentiis. But I think Antonio Conte is the mastermind behind this Scudetto.
Antonio Conte was able to fry the fish with water.
Yeah, no, that's the reality.
Okay, if you've never had a friend from Napoli, that might describe them in the most perfect way. They've always got a clever saying, a way of describing things in a poetic way.
Listen to me.
Wait, go with that. Go with that. What do you mean by that?
Yeah,
Well,
Not literally.
basically, it's what.
Well, literally, it's very hard to find fish through water.
But it's very.
Thank you, Einstein.
It's very hard, and when you get a coach with like Conte, you get basically the whole package. You get a manager, you get a coach, you get a tactician. He wants to run the show, and his rules. You have to buy him the players. You have to make them happy 360 degrees, and basically finishing 10th. And Conte is great at that. Finishing 10th and then rebuilding, same like when he took Juventus the first year. The year before Juventus finished 7th,
Chelsea
and
were
then they
10th.
won the Scudetto, right? And he won the Scudetto. So he's able to motivate and create that atmosphere. But nobody asked him for the Scudetto. De Laurentiis and the Piazza and Napoli simply said, we want to go back into Champions League and not finish 10th like we did last season. This is not a city that deserves that. And he agreed in this project. He has a 3-year contract. And then things do happen along the way where they fall into place. And you're able to win a Scudetto. But you have to believe it. You have to try to fix all the
Don't
missing
praise him
pieces.
too much. Ludo. That guy is
you can't
crazy.
say anything
No,
about it.
it
Listen,
was
Conte was the main reason why this team
it
won.
started from the defense and changing formation.
And then 3 weeks
a few
before the
times throughout
campionato
the
ended, he's
season,
starting to say,
injuries,
okay.
and then selling Carvatellia in January. It wasn't.
If I would say, like, obviously you said the difference between the two Scudetti now, these most recent ones, but the Spalletti, Napoli, everything went well, right? Everything
it was a better team.
Was a better
It was
team.
a better
So
team.
it's night
It was a
and
better
day.
team.
It's not even
It
close.
was a better team. The style of play, calcio champagne.
They also had half of all their best players left. Osimhen left, Kvara left, Kim left, and Zielinski left.
Yes.
Those are the 4 best players in that
But
year.
I'm not arguing.
Yeah. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah. I'm just saying everything went well. Everything went the right way. They played
That
amazing.
was a Scudetto won in March.
Okay. Yeah. This year, they didn't have this perfect season. If we were talking about it. They started losing 3-0 to Hellas Verona.
Yeah.
Okay.
It reminded.
What about Modena, Coppa Italia? I was there at the
Yeah.
stadium. Penalty kicks. Meret saved them in mid-July. I mean, mid-August.
It
Coppa Italia, the first round.
It kind of reminds me now looking back because of the.
And then I went to see the Parma game. We won 2-1, 98 minute.
Yeah.
I was at the stadium.
It reminds me in the World Cup when Argentina lost to Saudi Arabia. Remember when Argentina lost the first game?
Yeah.
There's always this special bond between
Sure.
Napoli and Argentina. But that was where Conte, he started throwing everybody under the bus.
Yeah.
But you brought it up a few weeks ago and you said this is also his way to communicate, to try to get the most out of the
Yeah.
players, and it clearly worked.
He didn't have those McFratm.
Yes.
He was
have
still
a lot
playing
of
the
players.
3-5. Then he changed against Juventus in September. He went with 4 in the back, and it's not Conte. It's not, Conte with 4 in the back. He never
Sure.
was his strong point.
But even after that, then you lose versus Venezia. You tie versus.
You tied Venezia, right? Did you tie or you lose?
no,
Venezia?
we won Venezia.
You won Venezia and then you tied Venezia
Yeah.
0-0.
So,
Which one did they
Raspadori
lose? They
scored the
lost-
80th
who did
minute.
who did you guys
Como.
lose to? Como.
Como was an early game,
Como.
6:30 a.m.
You lost versus
No,
Como.
Como we beat them. We lost.
You lost
I was
Como.
in Italy in February when we lost.
No, you lost
You
Como.
lost the second leg.
Whichever
with
the
the-
team-
you
I forgot
lost.
who-
You
No.
beat Como 3-0, then you lost to Como 3-2.
Ludo,
There you
finish
go.
up your prosecco. We call it calcio champagne.
I
This we call it
have
the
another,
calcio
prosecco.
prosecco.
Prosecco
Okay.
when
I
you guys
need a
are ready.
refill. I
You
need
want
a
a refill? I'll
refill.
get you a refill.
Even tying versus Venezia, tying versus Parma, usually the teams that tie these games, they don't win the Scudetto. Right? Am I right? Usually the teams that drop points with some of these teams, especially in such a close
Correct.
race,
No.
doesn't happen.
Absolutely.
So everything kind of like Ludo was saying, as far as this one being more, I guess, linked to the first Maradona one, right? Is to say, this was sweated till the end. This was every second you had to make sure that you were, on the top of
there's
your
beauty.
seat
There's
trying to
beauty.
follow.
There's beauty in that too, right? There's beauty in, again, the teams are very different. You can't compare Spalletti's to this one, but there's beauty in not only the best team, the most technical team, on paper, the team that's supposed to win wins. It was the team that most deserved over 38 games to lift the Scudetto, because there's without a doubt, Ludo, I'm sure you could even agree with this, Inter on paper is the best team. But the beautiful thing about football is there's a lot of variables. It's not just what's on paper. It's the concentration at the end of the games, which Inter lacked. It's the amount of games. It's so many different aspects, which I think makes this fourth Scudetto beautiful, but also where Napoli can go from this. Because I think Conte came to this team. There's no other coach in the world. You cannot convince me. This is not even a matter of opinion. For me, there is no other coach in the world that could have coached Napoli this season and won the Scudetto. Only Antonio Conte. And talk about his bond with the South. He's the first Southern coach to ever win with the Southern team. And right when he went to Napoli, he said, this is the first time in my career that I was given something by the fans before I gave them something. Anywhere he's gone, he went to Juventus, he went to Inter, he went to Chelsea, they want you to lift the trophy before they're going to sing your name. Before any of that, they were singing Ho visto Antonio Conte, the famous chant for Ho visto Maradona. So I think all these things, it was a perfect blend of a year, a magical year for this Napoli. And I really hope that they use this as a propelling to the next level, to try to not make these one-offs, not make it just, let's win 2 Scudetti every 33 years. Let's make Napoli get to that next level. And I think while De Laurentiis is not a perfect president by any means, he has his flaws, he made his mistakes, he corrected his mistakes. And when you look at where he took them to where he's gotten them right now, they're on a trajectory that I think the sky really is the limit for Napoli.
I think, let me just please, just give me a couple minutes, because there is so much to insert.
I'll get the Prosecco in the meantime.
There is so much to insert into this conversation. Marco is part of the pundits. Those guys, all they do is talking nice about, what happened with Conte, what happened with this and Napoli that. Other different pundits, they said, this is more of a Napoli win or an Inter loss? Relax. What I believe is Inzaghi is a professional choker. I'll tell you the reasons why. He did it the year before AC Milan, when AC Milan won the Campionato. He choked. Yes, he choked on a key game against Bologna. Here we are talking about Conte winning this Campionato. It's technically, for me, more Inzaghi losing it. And I'll tell you the reasons why. If they held that lead until for a couple more minutes, this could have been a total different scenario right now. But nevertheless, I'm so happy that this has happened, just for the fact that
it's not only the game against
listen
Lazio.
to me, this guy number one.
Parma,
listen,
Juventus 4-4, you're winning 4-2, and they tie the game.
I know.
Parma 2-0, Lazio
this guy
2-1.
on my right, it was one of the fours that said Inter is the favorite. The other guy right next to it, Inter is the favorite.
Of course,
Mike
they are.
next to me,
What, they have the
Inter
best
is
roster
the
in
favorite.
Serie A.
Hold on.
They were the favorite.
They have the best roster in
We're
Serie A.
changing the lingo. The favorite, and this is not subjective.
Yes.
The favorite was Inter. They were minus odds to win the Scudetto.
Okay, so
those are two different things.
So what I said, guys, would you put your house on, or would you bet
done,
your
I'll
life
give you
on a thing like that? So nobody was able to stick their neck all the way to the end. Gaetano was actually the only one that was sitting right where you're sitting right there, that he said, you know what? For me, Napoli can take it because they're not playing any international competition. They have a great coach. Back then they still had Kvaratskhelia, and they had the team almost running on 8-cylinder, despite the loss on the first game against Verona. Gaetano said that this is the team that might be the surprise for this year, and everybody else except me and Gaetano, they said Inter.
He's got a different memory. Anyway, let them react.
No,
Let them react.
I
Let them react to what you
I
said.
gotta finish.
You just
I'm
threw out
not-
3 things.
But I gotta finish.
Let them react to what you said about Inzaghi.
Oh, Inzaghi.
Go, what do you guys
let me
make?
finish. Let me finish. Another 30 seconds.
Go ahead.
I was able to watch the game this morning at 6 o'clock because I've been helping my daughter moving
right.
from one place to the other. So I watched the game at 6 o'clock in the morning, the Inter, and I watched the game of the Napoli.
You watched both at 6:30?
No, I one. And
The
then
last
other
game?
one.
You watched both games back
Yes.
to
The
back.
last game means nothing. It was already done.
Relax. I'll tell you why I wanted to
Okay,
say
go
this. I saw Bastoni, I saw Lautaro, I saw the big senators of Inter following the game of Napoli on the phone. So
Napoli was doing the same thing.
What are they supposed to do?
hold on. Everybody, they thought that they had it already on the bag.
No,
So,
that's what you got from that. They're following to make sure Napoli doesn't score.
Listen, you are sitting on the bench. Pay attention to your team.
bro,
Watch the game.
Hold on, let
understand.
him react to the first thing that he said, because he made up a point that a lot of people are bringing up, saying that
I think
Inzaghi,
the Scudetto was
Inzaghi
lost
lost.
against Lazio, not against not
No,
yesterday.
listen.
Forget about the
And
yesterday.
for Inzaghi and Conte not to be sitting on the bench on the key game of the season, was the most important game of the season.
But that's a different point.
But that's a different point.
Yeah, you're throwing too many things out. You're not letting them react to
All
anything.
right, so
react to the first thing that he said, which is Inzaghi, in 4 years at Inter, he's had the best team. He's won 1 Scudetto.
Okay, I would respond by saying
He's a choker.
Yes, he's
Yes,
had
he's
the
a
best
choker.
team.
Say yes, it's a
Let
choker.
him respond.
Say
Let him
it.
respond.
Say
Anto,
yes,
give
it's a
me-
choker.
Give me 1 second. What I would say is the season versus that Milan won, that was a choke artist job.
Agreed.
That was the one that he lost, and I think it was the inexperience maybe that he didn't understand. Hey, I need to be able to just get through like Conte did this year. Get that 1-0. Make sure that you just get the points, then having this style of play,
Which is
Because we
understandable.
know-
It's his first time at a big club.
Okay? And Inzaghi, for whatever you can say about it,
He wants you to cheer, sir.
this Inter team has never played better in their 100 and so what years of
He wants you to cheers.
of existence. Okay, now
He's something else.
then when Napoli won, Inter went all the way to the Champions League final.
You had
they didn't
12
care-
losses in the
They didn't
league,
care
yeah.
about the league. They won that Scudetto then the next year, and this year we're also in the Champions League final, which I think influenced how we played during the season, the concentration levels, obviously the physical demands of playing in 3 competitions till the end, and I think it did influence, and I think Inzaghi, not that he blew it, but more so
He lost by 1 point.
yeah, we didn't have
And he's in the
we didn't
Champions
have
League
the
final.
team, and I really would, if I had to blame anybody, would blame management, because the acquisitions during the summer did not live up to expectations, right? We still don't have a striker to replace Thuram when he's not playing.
It'll be more January,
And-
no?
Even January
to not
but
correct.
even summer, because Taremi was a bust. Zielinski this year, very
But
average.
those were great on paper. We all like those signings, though.
That's what I'm saying.
So in
But I-
January, it's probably more January.
But I'm saying even as far as the when you go after players, right? They have to give you that level of intensity.
Okay.
Taremi has been a bust. Correa, we know already, is
Yeah.
non-existent. Arnautovic can't play more than 45 minutes. Zielinski. No, Zalewski's been good, I think. When he's come in, he's done what he had to do. Zielinski this year has not been good. Even when he played, didn't give us anything more that I was expecting. So when you say, hey, we have 22 players that can, everybody should rotate. The guys that came in off the bench, they were a different level.
I think Peter.
but on paper,
Peter.
On paper, yes.
This is
on
all
paper,
wrong.
you
all
take
wrong.
away the first 11
No,
wrong.
starters and you put the other 11.
All
It's still one
wrong.
of the strongest teams.
I
in the
agree.
world.
But he's
up top,
taking
no.
into
Up top, no.
account trying to win 3 competitions. So for me, I think Peter, I totally agree with everything that he said. I think the first season, that was the mistake on Inzaghi. This year, what are we going to complain about? Inter lost by 1 point to Scudetto. They're in a Champions League final. There's very few teams in the world that are able to do that in a very competitive team, and you have to give Napoli the credit. You cannot say that Inzaghi choked. He had an amazing Napoli side behind him that was just relentless.
It's bold. Inzaghi choked. He's a choker. He's a choker.
What do you think, Ludo?
Inzaghi choked.
First of all, I would like to.
They won.
Alto.
Ludo,
Let him
you
finish, let
guys
him
won and
finish.
you deserve to win.
Let him
I'm not saying we
finish.
don't
You guys
I
choked.
listen, I'm not saying we don't deserve to win. 2 points where Peter said before. At one point I do not agree. One point that he said, management did not do a good job in buying. Peter, you forgot that you had 900 million in debt. And you couldn't even buy a
That's
pair.
right.
And we
That's
still
right.
can't buy anybody.
You cannot even buy a
He
pair of
always
socks.
has an excuse, this
You have
guy.
to create a statue to
I
Marotta
agree.
Joker.
in bringing
I
players
agree.
that they without even paying a transfer fee to the other team that
Yes.
you just have to pay.
Yes.
Now you got to create a statue.
It's a good point.
I
They
would
don't
say
play by the
really
rules.
good. It's a good
They
point.
don't play by the rules, by
It's
the
a-
way.
Right.
They know. We all
By the
know.
rule. If you eliminate Inter and Juventus with 500, 600, 700 million in debt and not playing Serie A, how are you going to play Serie A? I mean,
But play by the rules.
What was the
Play by the
point that
rules.
you agreed with him on?
What?
What you said you disagree with him on that point, but you agreed with him on another
And then
point.
Napoli won the 2 Scudettos now with not even $1 in debt.
No, that I agree. That I know. De Laurentiis, he
With
survives on with Napoli,
Right.
Because that's his
We had
main
the debts
thing.
when
And he
Maradona
has
was
zero.
there, but
And he
that's a
has
different.
He has zero.
That's
debt.
that's a different era. I believe that Inter did have the strongest team. They had the best team in the past 4 years. They had to make certain decisions when Conte left, and I believe Conte left because they sold Hakimi.
and
with
Lukaku.
60 million.
Lukaku.
Yeah.
And look, they sold and he left. He
There was
he
another
just
one, too,
slammed the
Onana.
door
No,
and he
no,
left.
no,
But
that
then
was
also Dumfries came.
Yeah.
Back then.
But Dumfries, the
And then
first
Conte-
year was not great.
And when Conte was there, before Inzaghi got there, Conte did not know that he had someone called Di Marco. That he did not.
He never played.
He was at
He never
he was at
played.
Parma, right, or
He didn't
Verona?
fit the physical.
But he played. He played with
Ashley Young.
He played with Inzaghi. Now, in regards to Inzaghi, yes, you can lose the Scudetto for 1 point. You lost against Manchester City. But Inter wanted the Scudetto last year.
Yes.
They wanted Ben
Yeah.
because they wanted that second star.
Yep.
Yes.
They wanted it.
Yep.
So they were willing to give 150% in order to win the second star. Number two, Inter is not one of the youngest teams in Serie A. As a matter of fact, I think they're the oldest team
They are.
in Serie A. You have
I
certain
think
players
Napoli's
that
the
are,
second oldest, though, right?
That I don't know. To
Pretty
be
sure.
I don't want
I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure. Anyway,
I don't want. But
anyway.
you have Acerbi, you have Darmian, you have certain players
Sommer.
that.
Sommer's over.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sommer-
Goalkeeper.
Ludo,
that
Ludo,
they-
you
that
mentioned
they-
you
Let him
mentioned the
finish, let him
second
finish.
star. Okay, go ahead.
No,
Finish
go ahead.
up.
Let's see
No,
what-
you mentioned the second
knows
star,
already
but
what
you
we
know,
know
on the
already.
paper,
On
the
the
second
paper, we know
star
already.
is
Wait,
still
let me-
nine. He's
we
still
know.
19 because
We
one
know,
they
we
never
know.
won
Let
it
me
on the
ask you.
field.
Let me ask
it's
you.
still 19.
Let me throw out a topic, and I really don't want to finish on Napoli yet. I have one more thing that I want to bring up about Napoli, but since we're on Inter's topic, maybe Peter, you could start. I know you're gonna love this one.
Yes.
We have to throw it out there.
Yeah.
Inter could go trophyless this season. I think that they will beat Manchester City on Saturday, PSG on Saturday. I do. I think they will lift the Champions League. I think that was the goal of Inter from the start of the season. But
You think that Inter's gonna win?
Yes. But I've been saying this since
They have a
September.
chance.
I felt
There's a
like
50-50
it. I felt like
chance.
it. It's probably the most even Champions League final that we've had in my memory. Last year, Real Madrid, we knew who was going to win. Even the year that you went up against Manchester City, yes, it was an even final. But not one person in the world said that Inter was going to win that Champions League. Anyway, my point. If Inter does go trophyless, how do we look back on this season? Because for the nature that Inter is, it's hard to say it's a success, but it's also hard to say it's a failure because they basically did their job. They said, go as far as you can in all the competition. So how would you look back and reflect on this year?
It's a failure.
Really?
If you lose, it's a failure because you have to win something. You need a silverware, and I think even with the Coppa Italia, you still failed. You still failed.
Okay.
But when you look at what Inzaghi did versus Milan, we lost in this, the second leg of the Coppa Italia because he didn't play his starters. Because he
Napoli
was
is the second oldest team, by the way. Second oldest team.
because he was saving, but they play once every 7
Once a
days.
week,
Either way.
Yeah.
But I'm just throwing it out
He
there.
always has an excuse
Anyway,
on his sleeve.
anyway,
Always an
anyway.
excuse on his sleeve, man.
Sorry,
He's unbelievable.
I shouldn't have brought it up.
Go ahead.
I should have brought it up.
So he didn't play his starters versus Milan because he was saving them for, I think it was Bologna that game. I think they had Bologna to play.
Yes.
If backfires, you lose to Bologna because you needed to tie at the minimum, and you lost because at one point, ultimately was the difference in the Scudetto.
Yeah, of course. Go for Ludo.
Okay, so you lose versus Bologna. Then at that point, you shift your focus now again to Champions League, and you lost the next week versus Roma, 1-0 as well. So ultimately, if you don't win the Champions League that you put all your, everything in, It's for me, it's a failure.
You can't program a Champions League win, though.
I'm not saying you program it, but if you are putting all your eggs in that basket, you slip up versus in the Scudetto, you lose the Coppa Italia. Not only that you lose in the Coppa Italia, you didn't win a game versus Milan in a whole year.
But who cares about Coppa
You
Italia?
lost 2 trophies to Milan.
Yeah,
It's
listen,
not about-
silverware is important.
You just said it would be a failure, so why does it
It's
matter?
still- okay.
You said even if they won Coppa Italia, it would be a
but
failure.
it's a failure because you decided not to play that game to try to win in Bologna, and you lost anyway. That's a failure.
For me, it's very, and I'll take Ludo and Anto's opinion. I think I know where you'll stand on it. For me, it's impossible to say it's a failure of a season. They took progress as a club. You got to 2 Champions League finals in 3 years with the 14th lowest revenue out of every team in the Champions League. You still could win the competition, obviously, but if you don't win it, you went all the way. You went to the semifinals. You lost by 1 point to Scudetto, and you go to a Champions League final.
okay,
That's not
but-
progress as a club.
It's not progress, no, because you didn't win anything. Ultimately, it's like Antonio Conte said. History is written by the victors, and everyone
But I'm
else
not saying this is going to be a historic season. I'm not saying that this is a season you remember.
But if you win
it's still a progress.
I'm sorry, if you win a Champions League, it's a historic season.
Of course, but I'm saying if you lose this, it's not that we're going to remember this and say, "Oh, an incredible team."
What's so hard to say that it's a failure?
I don't think it is.
Does that mean that Inzaghi's out or
No,
automatically?
no, absolutely not.
So nothing changes. It's a failure.
Pete, I have the answer for this guy here.
For the standards of Inter,
Yeah.
to not
It's
win
a
a trophy,
failure. Yes.
when you have the best team, to not win a Supercoppa, to not win a Coppa Italia, to not win a Scudetto, and to not win a Champions League, you failed.
You know what's the problem with this guy here? Okay, this guy is part of the Gen Zs that have been. Hold on. No, I'm serious. He's part of the Gen Zs that have been brought up playing baseball, basketball, and then at the
doesn't
end
even know the rules of
relax,
those sports.
please let me finish.
All right.
And then at the end of the season, they got the trophy regardless whether they win or lose. That's what they want. Those are more sportsmanship guys, but not fans.
You know what's funny?
An
I was
AC Milan fan or
I was,
an Inter Milan fan. They want you, the main opponent, dead.
All right.
Dead, not the person, the team. They despise the team. We despise Inter.
We understand
we have
now.
passion.
You know what?
So you are the participation guy, the sportsmanship guy. You want it regardless of win or loss. You lose. You cannot be that. That's not a failure. It's a big failure.
Okay, and I disagree. And I was also the kid that always got yelled at. That when I got the second place trophy and I wouldn't take the medal, I would throw it out because I don't believe in I don't believe in celebrating the second place. But my point is this: I'll give you the perfect example. Giampiero Gasperini was called a loser his entire career until last year when he won the Europa League. For me, him winning the Europa League and him losing and not winning did not change the way that I viewed Giampiero Gasperini. He was a winner because he overcame all of his obstacles. The fact that he got Atalanta to go to a Europa League final, whether he won it or whether he lost it, it did not change my opinion of him. What he's done to get Atalanta into a Champions League. You don't receive a trophy for getting there. But to me, that is winning. That is winning because you're taking progress as a club. You're overcoming your obstacles. Nobody would have put Inter in Champions. Nobody, 99 out of 100 people would not have said Inter would beat Barcelona. So for me, that is taking progress as a club.
It's taking progress. You could take progress, but ultimately, it's still a failure. When you put, Gasperini, Atalanta, that doesn't spend any money, that they've never been in
You don't spend money
at certain
compared to the
levels.
big teams
I
in
get it,
Champions
but
League.
we
The president of Atalanta has more money than De Laurentiis.
Percassi
Percassi
is big.
Where do you stand on this? We've all given our
Well,
opinion.
I agree with Peter that it would be a failure because I think that Inter, with the roster that they have and the salaries, one of the highest in Serie A, if not the highest in Serie A, Inter for me is the Real Madrid of Italy. So, and Real Madrid didn't win anything this year. And it's a failure. Conte is going to Brazil. Now you have to stop. Ancelotti, I'm sorry. He's going to Brazil, and it's a failure. They didn't win the La Liga. They didn't win anything.
So it's a Juventus, by the way, not to,
No.
all right.
So I feel that it is a failure because now at this point you get a certain, let's say, in during the season you have to play Bayern Munich, you have to play Barcelona. Those are the top European teams in order to reach the final. I think beating Barcelona and beating Bayern Munich, I think they should do it against PSG. My opinion, if everyone is healthy.
Yeah.
So now, at this point, Inter said, okay, I have two teams. Like I said before, the roster, you have two teams. It worked a couple of games that he put in the
second,
the second team,
which is
and they
first
did
team.
win, but it was against Torino. Okay, Torino didn't have not. It did
Udinese,
work. Udinese. Okay, it worked a couple of times, but the other times it did. They did not deliver.
Yeah.
But now you have teams that they're fighting for something. It is not La Liga, and it is not the French league, League One.
Exactly.
It's Serie A, which these teams they are fighting for something. And Inter has a problem scoring when the other teams
Low block. Yes.
They lower themselves. They have
They
a
play.
lot of
They
difficulty
park
scoring.
the bus on
They score a
defense.
lot in set pieces.
Yes.
But that's besides the point. So Serie A is a little bit different. So now at that point you said, okay, what do? Do we go for the Scudetto or we go for Champions League? And they said, okay, let's try both. But it backfired, like Peter said, against Lazio. To me, they lost the Scudetto against Lazio.
Right there.
100%.
You winning 2-1 the 55th minute.
Or Parma.
And the team stopped playing. Parma was already...
Parma for me was the turning point. When you're up 2-0 against Parma, you got to close the game out.
Yeah, but you made that mistake, Marco. You make that mistake. Okay, now you
I get what you're saying
play
after.
Lazio.
I just think
You have
personally,
the
I think
opportunity.
you lost.
Lazio.
I think that was the moment where it all went downhill.
Lazio
That was the moment.
55th minute, and you make those same subs that you made before, and it
That's
cost
him.
you points.
Yeah.
But again, you need those guys healthy for the Champions League.
It's hard. It's
and
not
I
easy.
repeat here today, the starting midfielder that Inter has, if everyone is healthy, that is for me the best midfield in Europe. I said it on this podcast before, and I repeat it again.
But that's why
Dumfries,
Cialanoglu,
Barella,
Mkhitaryan,
Mkhitaryan, and Di Marco. If everyone is healthy,
Maludo, that is the perfect definition of a choker. That's what I'm saying. He's the coach. Don't tell me that Marotta or what's his name, Ausilio or next whoever sitting next to him, you know, the Argentinian guy. That's they tell Inzaghi, yo, make the sub because we're thinking about what's coming up. So he's the perfect choker for me because it's been proved game after game that he does the same thing. You get a yellow card, you're gonna get subbed.
You can't play 90 minutes every game.
Inzaghi did not win the game against Barcelona.
But that's an important game, Ludo. You have to risk that.
What do you mean?
What do you
Come on,
mean?
you put a champion over there. He puts
come
that
on.
goal in.
You
Achebe
can't-
went by himself.
But you can't say it's
Come on.
not
And it was
Inzaghi.
a pure luck that
Marco,
you
what
won
I'm trying
that
to say
game.
is-
Yeah, break.
Which a coach gets an extension on his contract or he gets fired is if the player hits the post or puts the ball in the net.
Right, that's it. That's right there.
Okay,
Right there.
So that's exactly why it's hard for me to say that a season is a failure because they have done everything. It's when they finish second place to Milan, when they finished second place the year they went to the final, I can agree. I can totally agree. But they lost to Scudetto for 1 point. They're going to a Champions League final. It's determined on details. They beat out the guys that were more favorites for them to win this competition. Again, do you know that no team has ever gone to the Champions League semifinal while also having the 14th lowest revenue in the Champions League? Did you know that? Inter is the first team to do that.
Marco, it's not that you lose the Campionato by 1
guys,
point. It's how you lose it.
That's crazy.
It's not that you
But
lose it.
it's
It's how you lose
They
it.
had good
Inzaghi does
competition.
not determine if they win the Champions League or not. That's what I'm trying to say.
I agree
It's
with
the
you,
players that go on the
100%.
field. If everyone is healthy, if they're all healthy, Lautaro, if everyone is healthy, they'll play their game. I think they could beat PSG.
But Inzaghi gives them
I
Inzaghi
doubt
gives
it.
them a
I
different
doubt
spirit
it.
because there's a lot of coaches in Italy that they just go all in on one competition. Like Conte is a perfect example. I love Conte. I'm the biggest Conte fan, but he's the one who would have made the calculations if he was at Inter still. They would have went all in on the Scudetto, or they would have went all in on the Champions League. He would not have tried to play his part in all these competitions. He would have said, "We're going to win one." So I actually give credit to Inzaghi the fact that he's tried to manage on all these
and
different
the
fronts,
second
and it went
lines,
down to
they're
the
not
last day.
delivering certain games.
The
subs that he made, the
That's
second
my point.
lines,
I agree.
not deliver.
Inzaghi is managing. He knows these guys cannot play 90 minutes every 2-3 days. They cannot. They don't. As
not
Leo
possible.
said, they're the oldest team.
It's not possible.
We have every player except I think Bastoni. Every player has been injured on Inter. Okay, every player has been injured and missed at least 1 or 2 games. Okay, that's one. 2. He's trying to manage. He's trying to make sure to have everything set up. Then at the end, but it caught up with him, and that's why I'm saying it's a failure.
That's why he leaves the technical box a lot.
Yeah,
It gets to him.
And then what I would say is the players ultimately make what happened, right? On the field, they have to do their thing. But I would say with Inzaghi, you've seen his work. You've seen his identity in the style of play.
Absolutely, 100%.
And how all the defenders are able to get to a certain position.
So that's why you have to give him credit for Acerbi scoring. Center backs go up on his system.
I've given him credit. I'm not saying we're not giving any credit, but you can't give it Acerbi.
Why? You just said the defenders are the ones that go up in the system.
Acerbi told Darmian, there was the whole thing with Darmian after the game. He said, Acerbi said, stay here, I'm going up.
Okay, but if you had a coach that didn't believe in allowing you to have the freedom. Anyway.
Inzaghi didn't tell Acerbi to go up.
All I'm saying is,
hold on.
if it's a failure, doesn't mean that Inzaghi can't be there the next year.
No, we totally
it's
agree.
a failure because, and it's not just Inzaghi. Like I said, maybe you don't want to say the summer. We have dead and we didn't spend any money.
I think January.
But January, you see Taremi is
nothing.
How do you say, a fish out of water?
Don't find an excuse for
I
that.
thought,
I'm telling you why.
Come on.
You're such a selfish bastard.
I thought we've been without a striker. You guys bought Jimenez.
Listen to me.
You bought Jimenez at 30 million.
You listen to me. Taremi, you bought it because he scored 35 goals. You got it for free. So stop throwing Taremi under the bus. Okay? You guys suck.
What was that?
You suck.
You're defending your mom. What
You
the hell?
lost. You lost. Maybe Inzaghi didn't plug in the right way. He didn't plug the right way. Same way Pioli didn't plug the Catellare into the team the right way. Taremi is a good player. He's a good player.
What about Arnautovic?
Arnautovic.
Davanti a porta, he misses it.
That's what happened. What's what happened?
Anyway, let's talk about. You're speaking about sucking. Milan this season sucked.
They
suck.
So what?
Out of all the European competitions, disaster. The biggest disappointment in all of Europe is Milan. You finish a season
in all of Europe. Wow.
In all of Europe, I would say for the expectation, for the quality in the squad, for the quality within Milan, absolutely. And that's because I hold Milan to a high regard. I think that the squad is a great squad. So many mistakes from the top to the coaching to the players. Anyway, we know now finally that you're going to get Tade as your direttore sportivo.
Yes, we got it already signed.
You get Tade, which they made a decision. I'm happy that they made a decision. Right. That's the most important thing. What coach do you expect to come? Because there was rumors of Maurizio Sarri, but now Tade and Sarri, they don't get along. He loves Allegri. That's one guy. Vincenzo Italiano, you're trying to persuade, but it seems like he's going to stay at Bologna.
Good, thank God.
Who do you expect and who do you want for Milan to get? They could be two different answers.
Well, listen, I said it so many times. We're not going to get Gasperini, even though he's one of my favorite coach, because Gasperini is the only one that he says he wants everything, the power on his hands. I said, hey, the team and the players, it's my job.
That would be your first choice.
That would be either him or De Zerbi. Those are the only two that I wanted to see. Everybody else, they're not AC Milan caliber. Allegri, we know the kind of a style of play that he has. I'm not sure how many players we're gonna be able to retain, how many people we're gonna ship out because we don't want them to be part of the AC Milan DNA. And I don't know who's gonna on the radar for coming into the squad. Number one.
But if you can't get those two coaches that you mentioned, which
we're not gonna settle for the best of the worst.
They're both very unrealistic. Gasperini and De Zerbi, it seems like they're unrealistic.
What do you mean for unrealistic? De Zerbi could be a very good possibility.
There's not a lot of talks about him going there. So who
is
else?
Good news. You know why? You know why it's good news that the derby has not been talked a lot? Because when AC Milan doesn't talk a lot about somebody that they really wanted, that's what they want.
So who else? Who else would it be if it can't be those two?
I don't want Sarri. Yeah. It's not an AC Milan coach. It's not caliber.
Who else is there that would make Thiago Motta?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Who else is there, guys?
We don't want leftover from.
Do you guys have anyone in mind?
I will take Klopp.
Well, he's not going to go.
Who said so?
He just came out saying he's got a role at Red Bull.
All right. But
plus,
Red Bull is a nothing.
Guy gets 15-16 million a year.
Listen to me.
Dude, to not coach. He has no stress right now.
The Red Bull is a no team. Nobody knows that he actually exists.
I'm just trying to get you to a realistic.
They have many teams.
I know you would take Klopp. Anyone would take Klopp. We got that. That's like saying I'll take Lamine Yamal on my team. Okay, we got it. But now let's be realistic.
We're not gonna settle for any garbage coach that is over there around. So
do you guys have a name?
No.
I don't know any.
Who's a realistic
front-runner.
name?
I think
Allegri is the one that they're talking about the most.
Yeah, but I think
Well,
that's
I think Allegri has a verbal agreement with De Laurentiis. That's my opinion.
With
in
Napoli.
case Monte, yes.
In case Conte leaves.
Conte goes to Juventus already.
In
He's
case
already
Conte
signed.
leaves, then Allegri will be the next coach. My opinion. I think he has
So
a
who
verbal.
for Milan then?
I think he has a verbal agreement.
I would. My first choice would be Vincenzo Italiano. I really think that Italiano fits his team. I felt this for a while. I think he's another guy that's completely overachieved. I think that he would fit Milan's style, but it doesn't seem like I don't disagree with his opinion. He wants to stay at Bologna. It makes a lot of sense. They have a great project. He's also going to get a lot more power in the decision making. They're a team that's on the rise, so I get why he wouldn't go. De Zerbi I would love, but again, I'm just trying to think of more realistic options. Options that we could say, all right, Milan, if they want to decide, they decide right now. Pete, do you have anybody?
Well, I will not rule out a couple of these coaches
Bless you.
that most likely will or will not go to Serie B.
Such as?
The Parma coach. I think if they
Kivu?
Kivu, yes, I think.
Really?
For Milan, no.
Listen,
Ludo.
you never listen. Even Di Francesco from Venezia.
Yeah, you're
These
gonna give him a heart
coaches-
attack.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying that these guys, they could be possible put in the right
That's what he does.
situation.
Ludo, do me a favor.
But these are the ones that they have.
Drink a little
These are
bit
the
more,
names
yeah.
that you have. These are the names that you have.
They're not AC Milan. This guy, listen to me. We already have three choices, and I said it before.
Ooh.
De Zerbi,
He says Klopp. He says Klopp.
No.
De Zerbi.
What I'm saying is, you have
Stop
certain
saying Klopp.
You have certain coaches
You're not in
that
Europe.
can leave certain teams and go to AC Milan and then get replaced by these coaches that might or might not go
Like
to Serie
Patrick
B.
Vieira. Could Vieira be a good one?
Vieira Genoa. I said that one on Milan
Vieira-
with last podcast. I did.
Vieira, maybe.
Vieira
But
maybe could be.
I might be considering more him because of the style of play and his posture and
but there's nobody that makes you feel secure in the choice besides the
the De Zerbi and Klopp. That would be my top choice. And even I know you're saying that they might not come, but if either one of them comes in, I think that's a winning.
I also like
project.
the coach of Udinese.
You do?
Runjajic.
Runjajic. I don't know. No,
I
no.
also like that.
Take him at Napoli. Then.
What about
that,
Roberto Mancini?
I might.
Ooh,
I might.
I got him
I
excited.
actually think that Roberto
might-
Mancini will be the next coach of Roma. That's
Mancini.
who I
I
think
might
who they're
take
hiding.
Mancini. I might
They're
take
not saying
Mancini.
it.
They're
Mancini
waiting for,
Mancini might be a good one.
Mancini
I
doesn't-
didn't think about it.
I love Mancini for what he did for us, but he doesn't excite me.
Mancini's
excite
got
me.
a. He's
I
got
see
a.
Mancini in Roma.
He knows how
That's
to
why they're
win.
hiding the name.
But he's a laziale.
Conte was Juventino. He
Tare-
went to Inter, he went to Napoli.
I'm not sure what the relationship between Tare and Mancini
So
is.
Tade gave a quote a while back saying that his top two coaches, he was on DAZN, I think in November, his top two coaches, he said were Allegri and Conte. Those were his two favorite coaches. And he said, he talked about his work with Sarri, and he said Sarri was great for what he put on the field. He goes, but working with him on the human level was a difficult thing. So that lends me to believe that Milan will not go for Maurizio Sarri, but it does open the door to Allegri, which if you made me bet right now, I would probably bet that Milan get Allegri.
I doubt it.
If
That
he
would be
doesn't
my.
go to Napoli.
If he doesn't go to Napoli,
If Conte stays in Napoli, yes.
it's my
Listen,
bet. I would
Allegri,
guess.
Allegri for me is somebody. It's like the dinner that you finish and then that you ate the night before. You couldn't
Leftovers.
finish leftover. You put it on the refrigerator and the next day you warm it up and you eat it. The taste is not going to be the same. Leftovers, they never taste good, and they're never good as a choice. You know, you do not want to eat your leftover because
Sometimes leftovers are good. Sometimes pizza leftover could be pretty good the next day.
Depends which
Allegri,
dish.
You can't be too
Look,
picky.
Parmigiana is very good the following day. Pasta and beans, pasta e fagioli,
Pizza,
better the next
cold
day.
pizza.
Lasagna is better the next day.
That's true.
Lasagna.
Lasagna.
Better, better the next day.
Tiramisu.
Allegri is a leftover that we do not warm up because nobody what you put on. You put extra cheese on, you put extra ketchup on, you put whatever the hell you want. Allegri is not going to taste good. And the guy left AC Milan with a very sour taste on the mouth of the fans. He got spanked poorly by Sassuolo with 4 goals by one of my favorite players that we wish we had him. long time ago. That was Berardi. He got spanked and humiliated in San Siro. That guy and AC Milan, there is now a concrete wall, thick,
I don't know
3
about that.
feet.
We'll see what
3
happens.
Some
feet.
cracks in that wall.
Reinforced concrete. I'm telling you.
I don't know about
That's
that.
reinforced concrete. I don't think Allegri is part of AC Milan DNA anymore.
So Ludo just threw out for Roma because Roma. We'll see what happens tomorrow between Roma and Juventus. Who's going to get that last Champions League spot, or Lazio? There's also. Did you guys see? There's a crazy scenario where the last Champions League spot could be decided by a coin flip.
No.
You know, it could come down to that.
And Juventus is going to win the coin flip.
Well, funny enough, the coin flip would be not on TV or anything.
Yeah,
it would be.
yeah.
It would be.
Yeah.
good.
Even better.
Who's going to flip it?
So you know, it's very unlikely. But if Juventus lost 3-0 to Venezia and Roma tie 1-1 to Torino and Lazio don't win, there would be a coin flip, or Juventus lose 4-1 and Roma Torino tie 2-2.
This
Nearly
is a
impossible.
disgrace.
It's
This is
nearly
not
impossible.
sports.
Because
All right,
no,
it's not gonna
it goes to a bunch of different
This is not
tiebreakers.
sports.
I think it would be an incredible story if Roma got Champions League with Ranieri. To take them from 4 points above relegation to Champions League would be one of the greatest feats that I think we could remember in modern history. But I think Juventus, they're playing against Venezia.
Wait a moment. So
will get Champions League.
Juventus tying, and Roma winning. Roma is going to Champions League.
So I was just saying the tiebreaker for the coin toss.
Okay.
That's it. Who do we think is going to be the next Roma coach? With Champions League, without Champions League? You say Roberto Mancini. There was rumors, obviously, of Klopp came out saying that it's absolutely not true. Pete, is there anyone that stands out as a front runner? And by the way, Ranieri himself said they already decided the coach. They have the agreement. He said even his own brother is calling him, asking him who's going to be the Roma coach, but he won't even tell his brother. Who do you think it's going to be? Nothing.
I don't know.
You have a name?
I'll tell you what. There's still De Rossi.
No.
No.
I
There's
think
still
you
De
know what I
Rossi
think?
out there.
I think Farioli. I think the guy from Ajax. I have a feeling they're gonna go in
What about the coach of Chelsea?
He just bottled the league.
Maresca.
Maresca. What about Maresca? I would consider Maresca for AC Milan.
I have
He's
a
getting paid handsomely.
I have a feeling that it's gonna be Farioli. I don't know. I got a weird from
Farioli's
left field.
Is he from Rome?
I don't know. I don't know much about him. I'll be
He
honest.
was the vice
Nice.
of the Zermi.
He was the Nice coach. Then
He
went
was
to
the vice of
Ajax.
the Zerbi? Farioli?
He's young. He's a young coach. He was in tears when Ajax lost. I don't know.
Yeah, because they had a 7-point lead, and they lost on the last day.
They play Wednesday in Chelsea.
So you're sticking with Mancini. There's also Allegri. They talk about to potentially go to Roma.
Allegri and Roma will be a
Well,
good
the Conte
team.
decision has to be made
When?
soon. I mean, you cannot. I mean, they have to meet next week and plan the next season and see what he wants.
What do you think is going to happen?
He's going to go.
Well,
Conte's going to go.
I think he's got to be happy that he wants that he wants to stay. But if he thinks he's gonna get whoever he wants, and De Laurentiis will pay whatever he thinks he should pay, Conte thinks he should pay, and pay those salaries, he's not gonna go for that.
Is it realistic to think? I think it is. Do you think it's realistic to think that Napoli spend upwards of 150, 200 million? Because personally, I think they will with the Osimhen money, with the Kvara money, which they still didn't spend. They just made Champions League football, which is huge revenue. That's part of the
Scudetto money, 17 million,
money.
whatever.
Do you think it's realistic to see? Because I really think we'll see that from Napoli this year.
But we did spend it last year buying those, buying the players. Lukaku, Gilmore, McTominay, Buongiorno, 40 million. I mean, we did spend the money last year. It's just that in January, and I remember the day, January 17, when Crava left.
St. Anthony, by the way.
What's his name?
January 17.
Conte was expecting something. And Napoli did try. And they just stopped talking and they...
Garnacho,
all
Adeyemi,
that.
all this.
But Napoli did. But these guys, they were... Just because Napoli had those 75 million from
know
Crava,
already.
these clubs, they were asking...
It's also January.
Right, enormous amount of money, and the players, oh no, I want double the salary. But you cannot do that in January, bringing a player in.
So do you think now
that
is the
makes
time, though? Because they were smart, right? It worked out. You still won the Scudetto.
the summer market transfer is much better than January, of course. I mean, you have more opportunities. The prices are, but you cannot go after a good player, a starter of another team in another club And of course, they're going to raise the price because they know you have that money. So they're going to ask. They're going to ask for more. We tried with Borussia Dortmund. We tried with Chiesa, the Manchester United player. A couple of everyone said no, or they asked for. And that's when Conte said, "Oh no, but now I can do this, I can do that. Now you have Terrace. Now you have to change the style of play." And and that's when with Conte, I think the relationship got a little bit cold
Ludo.
after Crava left because he was not replaced adequately.
You think he's not staying?
It was hard to
Absolutely not. Conte is gone. I'll tell you the reasons why. He already starting to raise issue when Napoli was trying to, catching up to Inter where they were slightly below second place, saying, "Hey, listen, in Napoli, it's just a lot of things that are possible. There are some things that cannot be done in this place here. There are few things that cannot be done." And the blame was on De Laurentiis. So, and on the type of team and the type of...
So the writing is on the wall.
The writing is on the wall. And actually, he opened himself the door to get out. In other words, if I wound up losing it, it's because of... That's the guy that made the
we said this
mistake.
before. This
Yeah.
is how Conte is.
We agree.
If Conte wins, he's God. If Conte loses, it's somebody else's fault. But that we
It's
said this
water
before we
under the
started.
bridge, Ludo. Conte is gone.
What do you think?
He's gone.
Pete?
100%.
I think the biggest thing with Conte is what Ludo said as far as he's going to demand players because he's done it everywhere he's gone.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so. We
But-
all said that they should not have, in quotes, they didn't have the best team in Serie A. They have to play Champions League football. We see Inter struggle with that. So he should demand players.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that he shouldn't.
Okay.
But he's going to demand players, and is De Laurentiis going to cater to that? One. Two, I think a big thing that, with outside looking in, right? If you're coaching Juve, Milan, Inter, the players aren't demanding to leave. Those are big teams in their eyes, right? They're happy where they are.
So what are you saying?
What I'm saying is Kvara was dying to go to PSG, dying for 2 windows, and got what he wanted. So I think with Conte also, he's like, hey, De Laurentiis, you got to start going after the players that I want,
I get your point.
because also any guy that I bring in, they're not happy to stay
To set a
here.
culture.
You know what I'm saying? So we need to set a culture to say, hey, this is a winning team.
Got it.
This is a winning environment. That's why also he brings up the field, the training facility, because you have to be able to attract. You want to be the top. You have to attract the top players. You're not. Napoli is beautiful. Once you're there, McTominay, right? He loves it. You fall in
The
love
tomatoes.
with the place. There's no better place on the earth.
Yeah, when you come to Naples, you cry twice.
Okay.
When you come and when you leave.
compared to Milan, as far as weather, food, everything else, there's no comparison where
But
you would be.
I think that this can be seen as a very negative thing, but I would flip it on its head and say every Napoli fan should agree with this. They should agree with the idea that we want to raise our stature as a club, as the
The
organization.
Napoli fans are not the
training.
ones that are complete. Are the
Right.
is the issue?
No.
It's
But
De
I'm saying-
Laurentiis. They
no,
can't.
But
he's
sorry,
not going to
Pete,
be able to
just,
spend.
Just to add this, because they say Conte is so demanding, but he's demanding because he wants to get to a certain level. He wants to make sure that this is something that you can repeat and it's not one-off.
He's able to demand. Everywhere he goes, he wins. He'll get another top team that will jump for Conte.
You
so he
take
can.
him.
He can.
I still think I am split. I'm split between the feeling of he's going to stay at Napoli, create a winning project, because I think De Laurentiis is going to back him. I really think that De
I hope
Laurentiis
he
this
does. He
summer
should.
is going to back him with at least 150 million. But then there's also the part of me that says the Juventus cloud might be calling in the background, and we know Conte loves Juventus. But I think he would be. I'm struggling to say, but I want my hunch is that he would be making a mistake leaving Napoli for Juventus.
Marco, this...
Anton,
Look,
let
let-
Ludo
let me
say
say
it.
it.
Ludo's
Let
got
Ludo
something.
say it.
Well, I think it's a broader picture. Now, let's look at this picture. Napoli winning the Scudetto, you get 17 million. The team that goes to Serie B gets 25 million. I just want to make this picture. The money
Wow,
that Serie A,
I didn't know that.
that
Parachute.
Serie A gets.
Parachute, yeah.
Yeah, the parachute to go to Serie B so you don't.
You know what Sunderland
you
got
don't
today?
disappear.
You know what
It's all
Sunderland got today?
It's all another 260 million.
250
Right,
million.
That's the thing.
In the
Right.
Premier League.
Now,
all
the
another
money that generates,
Jesus
that Serie A generates, you cannot compete
Yeah.
with the EPL. So Conte can make all the demands he wants. This is the money that Napoli can generate as a team,
a good point.
selling shirts and whatever it is generated in calcio. Now, De Laurentiis, right after the pandemic, his salary was for the entire roster was between 110 and 115, and they decreased it to 75. Okay, you have to make because the money was not coming in.
Got it.
Remember, De Laurentiis will never start a Serie A season with $1 in debt. It will never. He will never do that.
Which is a good thing.
Right. Which is absolutely a good thing. So now, Conte wants to compete. De Laurentiis wants to win. They both want to win. And as they said yesterday, they both are winners, but in different ways. So now, De Laurentiis has to give in a certain way. Okay, maybe not to go back to 110 or 120 where I was before, but maybe I could go back to 95. Now, we need to find players. We have Manna. We have a great scouting team that we can find the next McTominay.
That's a good point.
Or the Gilmore. Or find these players where, okay, maybe not 3, 4, 5 million. Okay, we pick up,
In
we
salary.
raise the bar. But you cannot go that far, Marco. You don't have the same revenue like Juventus and Inter has, or Milan has.
I think
Napoli is the 5th, 6th team in Serie A for revenue,
The-
even after Lazio Roma.
The rumor is he wanted to get to between 80 and 100, right? The revenues.
Now it's about
salaries.
75, 80.
The salaries, yes.
Right.
And they say that he wants to spend 150 to 200 million, and he wants the salaries
Right.
to go to 80 to 100 in that zone.
Correct. So
And then,
now
if,
you need,
and then if you get a free transfer, if you get De Bruyne, if you get Sané, whatever, that'll be
yeah,
calculated
but now
with
De
that.
Bruyne, you got a
gonna
guy
want
33 years old. The
No,
injuries,
forget
You don't
about
like
De
it?
Bruyne.
plus the
Forget about De
salary.
Bruyne.
You don't like it?
I don't think it makes
De Bruyne,
sense.
you should have got it 2 years ago.
To me, it doesn't make sense.
If Conte wants him,
Because
and
with
if they
Tamon,
make
you
it-
could get
I
two
would trust him.
McTominay. You could get two players the same. Like
You're not going to
McTominay.
pay for a transfer fee.
You need what?
You're not going to pay for the transfer fee.
Yeah, but
What do
his
you mean?
salary is
The
demanding.
salary is going to be expensive, but
Correct.
the transfer fee is
Now, if you
gone.
want to compete in Champions League, you got to replace Rachmani. You need another right fullback that can replace
Yeah.
Di Lorenzo. Anguissa might be leaving for personal reasons. He wants to go. His family.
Yeah,
they want
yeah.
perfectly understandable. You need to buy. You cannot go to Champions League with Gonge, with Mazzocchi, or with the other players.
You
So
also
now
need
you
another-
need to raise the bar. You need to find
Another
players.
Another
nine.
center forward.
'cause
Gaetano,
Lukaku-
Gaetano.
Another winger.
That's the mistake that we
there's a
made.
lot.
We did not
There's a
find.
lot.
There's a couple
We did
players
not
you can
find
do a lot.
someone that can replace Lukaku
Yeah.
this year.
Simeone didn't.
Right. We did
Simeone
not,
didn't
you know,
crack
to,
it.
But he's
to
not
a
that-
prospect
No,
towards
he's
the
not.
future that can replace Simeone. And that's where Conte comes in. Then you got a guy like McTominay that scores 12 goals.
Okay.
You change his position. 6 scored by Anguissa, which he never scored. 12 plus assist. And now you won the Scudetto with the center forward, Lukaku, only scoring 14 goals. 14 goals are scored by a team that goes to Serie B, by the center forward of a team that basically goes to Serie B. A team that goes for the Scudetto usually have 21, 22, 23, 24. And I tell you this, if Atalanta had McTominay, only McTominay, Atalanta would have been champions of Serie A.
Let me
Probably
just say
right.
one more thing.
You know what the impressive thing with McTominay too is? He scores 12 goals. 8 of
He's
them
too
came
physical
with
for Serie A.
Eight of them came at 0-0. So he was
all the
decisive
size,
difference
all the size of
maker.
goals.
8 games, 0-0, he scored.
Decisive.
8 games,
That's one of the
0-0.
most.
That's a different
that's
maker.
one of
That
the
guy's a
most
different
important.
maker.
There's a lot of players. So when the game is 2-0, 3-0,
Yeah,
all right, now
that's what
now is my
Leao
time.
does
Now
that.
is my time to score.
Leao does that.
This guy McTominay, and then to score in the way that he scored too.
What a goal.
For that to be the one that unlocks the Scudetto was also magic to him because he had a tough time with Manchester United. He was at Manchester United for 22 years. He was a boy that grew up at Manchester United. He was there from when he was 5 years old. To leave England, to go to Napoli, to go to a different culture where you don't speak the language. That's not an easy thing for him to do. So it's also nice that he was the symbol and he wins MVP. I think all of us
I
here.
think yes. I think
we
he
all
did.
agree, right?
No,
you
I
agree?
think
Yes,
You
yes.
agree.
Let me just say, add one more thing. This is
And
very
then we'll end.
important. Very important. We were talking about Conte staying, Conte leaving, Conte here, Conte there. What did Spalletti do? Spalletti left as a winner. He left.
Different situation.
Relax. Let
Different
me finish.
situation.
I know. Let me finish. Psychologically, for a coach, knowing what's coming, the fact that you're now on the center of the attention and you've been expected to be the top again, back to back is not going to happen. Number one. Number two.
Why?
I know why. Because the teams, all they do, they build themselves up to fight you directly and to make sure that you're not going to be able to
Spalletti
do...
was afraid to challenge himself.
Well,
He didn't have the balls to challenge.
But that's what about... That was my point. I was trying to make this point right
why
now.
is it different? I don't get why you're saying it's different.
It is
different.
It's
Why is it
not.
different?
1 second.
Why is it different?
He just said it. Spalletti didn't have the balls to challenge himself. Conte, he'll double down. But
What do you mean? So why
Conte,
would it be different?
No, Marco, I'll tell you. Wait, Pete, hold on. Conte
Let him
is going to
explain.
make a demand that he knows that De Laurentiis is not going to be able to do it, and he's going to get out.
So why are those two things different?
It's very different.
If Conte would leave and when Spalletti left, why is it different?
It's different. Spalletti already decided in his head, I'm gone. I can't do more than this.
Right.
I got
Conte
it, okay.
wants to do more.
I got it,
But
I
he
got it.
said, I can do more because I believe in myself.
33 years.
I got it. Okay.
But I need players. I need support because guess what? Inter's going to get somebody. Milan's going to get somebody. Juventus is
okay,
going
okay.
to...
I'm not
So-
going to win
I know what
another
you mean.
Scudetto
I know
because
what
he
you
won
mean.
the
So
Scudetto
for
for
him-
33 years.
for him-
Got it,
for
got it.
him,
Napoli's going to be
it's-
the focus now. Everybody is going to try, hey, we're going to fight those guys.
To Antonio's point, since Inter did it in 2020, nobody's been able to go back-to-back in Serie A. Every year, it's somebody different. It was Inter, then it was Milan, then it was Napoli, then it went to Inter, then it was now it's Napoli. Before that, too, I forgot. Juventus was there.
Yeah.
So it's been very hard to go back-to-back. So
Now,
to that
we
point,
have
you're
to
right.
create the mentality in Napoli that you have to compete every year, bother those guys of the north. Bother them. Bother Juventus, Inter, Milan. They have more revenues.
Meaning be competitive for the
Yes.
Be
title.
competitive.
Yes.
Give them a hard time.
Yes.
And
I
win
agree.
one every 4-5 years. You get a Scudetto.
Even in 10
coming
years will
down
be
to
good.
the- Because I thought, no matter what happens,
know, I agree.
You are never going to compete
I
with
know,
Juventus,
100%.
with Inter
Milan.
and the Milan on the revenue side and on the salary side.
But-
You're not. Because Napoli right now is fifth, even behind Roma and Lazio.
But what I would say is, and
So sixth,
we'll see,
right?
we'll see what happens. But Napoli got Amazon, Coca-Cola. They got some pretty good sponsors, and I think Napoli as a brand has grown a lot with De Laurentiis, and there's the historic value of Maradona. So I think yes, it can never compete with Juventus, Milan, Inter.
They're
But
making their own jerseys. He's making
Thank
his own
you.
jersey. They got Fly Emirates on their shirts.
Thank
I
you.
think you guys are both kind of saying
Adidas, look at the Adidas contract that the Juve has.
I think
not-
you guys are both saying the same
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
though.
no,
I
I'm
think
not
that you're
saying- I'm
saying
not
you can't
saying
get to
now.
that
No, I'm
level,
not
but
saying
there's a
now.
margin of growth.
I'm not
There's a big
saying
margin
now-
of
I'm not
growth
saying
possible.
now. I'm saying
I can never reach.
moving forward. But you know what?
What about the stadium, Ludo? They're talking about the stadium.
That's politics. That's a different story.
Yeah, I think if they can get a stadium, obviously the training facility. Conte, I think what he's saying with the training facility is we got to attract the top players. The city does itself a favor, right? When it comes to coming there, everyone's gonna want to be in the sun.
But
Everyone's
you need
gonna
the
wanna
rest.
Be,
You need the rest.
It's
Well-
that stadium is 65
No,
years
the
old.
stadium's gotta
That
be
stadium
gone.
was inaugurated when my sister was born, 1959. It was inaugurated.
That's right.
I've been walking through there
Right.
before.
No, but-
It's a
looks
bathroom.
Like, it looks
It
like
wa- it
you're in
was
the
fixed a
gladiator
little bit.
times.
That's
like
right.
the door that they open to let you go onto the field is. You feel like you're
Ludo,
one of the gladiators.
Napoli's
It's
not
very
the,
old.
Napoli's not the only team that's dealing with that.
Yeah, yeah,
but-
yeah.
Yeah, but you have certain
out of the
regions that they
competitive
were
teams,
able.
out of the teams that compete for the Scudetto, they're the only ones.
Well, San Siro, I know it's been renovated, but that's also another thing that Inter Milan can't get a new stadium. Roma can't get a new stadium. Lazio can't.
Either
get a
way,
stadium. So it's
Ludo,
a bunch of.
you tied a bow on the conversation well by saying the standards of Napoli are raised. If you fight for one title every 4 or 5 years, that's already saying a lot
Yeah.
more for where Napoli are going to go. And then we'll see what happens from there. But either way, congratulations, Ludo.
Thank
I'm
you
really
so much.
happy for you, and I'm happy for the people of Napoli to win the Scudetto. They enjoy the Scudetto. I'll say they enjoy it more than if Inter. If you want it, it's different.
Yeah.
It's different
No,
in
I agree.
Napoli. The fourth compared to the 21st. it's tough to say. And my dad is there. My dad flew over because he wanted to witness it. And the amount of people that he said, people that watch even this podcast, that flew from Philadelphia, that flew from Boston. He met somebody that flew 24 hours from Australia, a family with kids that flew, not even with tickets, but they said, let's go be in Piazza Plebiscito. Let's be amongst it, because who knows when I'm going to see this again.
Was Rosario there too from
No. He was in New York.
It was in New York.
Yeah, he had some.
I celebrated the first one. I was there for 1 week. In 1987, when we won the first Scudetto on May 10th, 1987 against Fiorentina, 1-1, Carnevale, and then a guy named Baggio, very, very young, scored the tying goal. Roberto Baggio.
Wow.
And I believe that was his first goal in Serie A.
Wow.
If I'm not
Amazing.
mistaken.
Anyway,
One thing I wanted to say at the end. Congratulations again, Ludo.
Here we go.
Hold on.
Here we go.
Screw Inter so bad.
Forza Inter on Saturday.
Bravo,
I'm happy
bravo.
if the
Forza
Champions
Inter on
League
Saturday. Okay,
returns
you
to
guys,
Italy.
you guys, why?
Me too.
Because you
We
want to keep.
deserve to win. We deserve to have a
Can I
Champions
say-
League
can I
15
say
years.
back
Please don't.
in
Please
Italy.
don't. Please don't. Don't say it. If you have to ask me.
F Inter for Saturday. You know, I didn't say that the full word. If you want, I can spell
FC.
it.
Inter.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay, F Inter for Saturday. Number one, and number two. You know, this podcast it feels kind of weird because I have this guy here on my right, and my
He doesn't
right,
like me.
my right hand man is Mike, and I miss him. What's going on with my friend Mike? Mike, please call me because I've been trying to get in touch
Why are you
with
saying
you.
this right now?
No,
on the
I want
podcast?
Mike to be sitting over here because you're not the real thing.
How about you catch a hint?
Yeah,
Maybe there's a reason why.
or maybe Mike doesn't like me anymore. Mike,
Anyway, guys.
we love you.
Forza
you.
Inter, Forza Inter on
That's all.
Saturday.
We'll be back with the reaction
Best
podcast
of
after
luck,
that.
and let's hope
Good
that
luck,
everyone will be healthy 100%.
Well said. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe. We'll talk to you soon. Ciao,
Okay.
ragazzi.
Take care, guys.